I just wanted to jump on. It's a NutballCop. Happy Sunday afternoon. Sitting downtown having a beer at one of my local establishments. I just want to give a shout out to my people who are not on the fucktarded MAGA far right or the neo-Nazi far right. And this is a friendly piece of advice and some fatherly advice at the same time. Um, do not lie your ass off like MAGA does every day of the week. Okay. Because MAGA's horrible at lying about shit. And just because somebody was MAGA or is kind of MAGA adjacent and fleeing, like, I'm talking about MGT, Marjorie Taylor Greene. I've stopped calling her moron Taylor Greene because she's at least seen some of the light. I don't think she's gone all James Brown in the chapel that in the Blues Brothers. I see the light. No, I don't think that she's there yet, but she may never be. But yeah, don't get so angry that you decide to lie as much as, dear leader porn star Humper or Robert Kennedy Jr. or Dr. Oz or, Stephen Miller or Steve Bannon. These people are fucking evil and they lie about everything. Don't get into the habit of lying because you think it has an effect that will turn more people against them. If you're going to turn people against something that's wrong or evil or immoral or unethical, use data and facts. Okay. Now, what I've seen no less than 20 times this weekend is how Marjorie Taylor Greene made $40 million in Congress and she's going to retire with a $172,000 a year retirement. Okay. One, I do not like Ms. Greene, and I'm being extraordinarily polite thanks to, Guinness. I don't like the woman. I don't like her politics. I don't like her persona. I don't like her decorum. I don't like her morals. I don't like her moral compass. I don't like her direction. I don't like her ethics and the lack thereof. Okay. But do not lie about what she just did. She paid into the federal personnel retirement program. Okay. Same way millions of other federal employees pay into. And you get a deferred pension that is based on a percentage of income based on your service years, just like I have through my police retirement through PERS. Okay, the federal retirement system is a deferred pension. It's not a lotto. Please stop with your memes and your little posts on Blue Sky and Substack, which are totally wrong. She's going to make, when she turns 62, or she can defer it later for a higher payment, about $8,000 a month as a pension when she retires. She is not banking $172,000 because she's retiring or exiting Congress on January 5th. That's just simply not true. Okay. Most of her wealth is actually from an inheritance from her dad that came from her construction company. Okay. It does come a little bit because they're all guilty of it, including the woman who was married. Who was her name? From Georgia. She was married to the New York Stock Exchange chairman, and she was insider trading like everybody else. Feinstein, Pelosi, McMullen, Lawfer. They all insider trade. So I'm sure Green made some money on some insider knowledge. I have little doubt about that. But is she going to make $172,000 a year pension starting in 2026? That's disinformation from the left. Stop it. Okay. Did she make $40 million insider trading in Congress? I actually researched that shit. I couldn't find anything like that. And that is not to say anything about her morals, ethics, her legislative direction, her decorum. I am still pissed at her when she fucking screamed, "You lie," at Obama because he was a black guy, not because of his policies. No, 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 no. She yelled at him because she didn't like who he was as a person. Okay. Her and Boebert. Okay. Don't like either of those gals. Okay. Yeah. Maybe an old Gen Xer, almost a boomer. Okay. And I may have a little conservative run on me being an old Ike Republican, now groovy libertarian, but I can tell you, if you want to succeed in the 2026 midterms, don't use disinformation and propaganda as your tools to get there, because that's what made Donald Trump's street gang blow up in his face. All they used was disinformation and propaganda. Don't do the same thing from the center, the left, the progressive, or the far left. That's making a fucking mistake. Marjorie Taylor Greene is not making $172,000 next year after she retires. That's a lie. And unfortunately, just like a lot of the bullshit that Stephen Miller and the KKK spokesperson with the little gold cross, I'm a good person because I have a little gold cross. You're an evil bitch wearing a gold cross. That's all you are. Okay. They lie their ass off every day. Fox Noise lies their ass off every fucking day. Don't take on the tactics of your enemy. Don't make that juvenile mistake. Okay, whether you like it or not, and I don't like it, she got elected to Congress for 5 years. If the rule is she's vested in the federal retirement system as a deferred pension after 5 years, then that's what it is. Because you're saying if she's not qualified to get her deferred pension, who else are you saying doesn't get a deferred pension? The air traffic controllers, the parliamentary officers of Congress, the sergeant at arms? What are you saying? Okay. And I'm not like ballistically calling out the left here. No, I'm not. Okay. Like I described so many times recently, I'm a groovy libertarian, sort of a center left libertarian. Okay. I'm not calling out progressives. I'm just calling out people, no matter what their stripe is, that you don't use different disinformation and propaganda as your speaking points and as your communication tools. That's fucking dumb. Okay. Yeah. If I lived in Georgia, I would have never voted for Marjorie Taylor Greene. Okay. Nada. Zero chance of that. Okay. But to point propaganda and disinformation at her when there's so much on the record you could call her out for being an idiot, for being a liar, for being uncouth, for being demeaning, for being a bully, for being an asshole in public. Okay, because I believe in your complete rights to be an asshole at home. You just can't be an asshole in public. Okay. Yeah, I'm also having a back vodka with my Guinness. Happy Sunday. But seriously, don't degrade yourself to their level. Speak at a higher plane. Inform at a different dimension, a higher dimension than the guttural bullshit we see from the ilk of Bannon, Tim Pool, Dave Rubin, KKK Caroline at the lectern at the press room. That woman is just pure evil, wearing a gold cross. When you try to identify, and I remember I was a guy in West Germany in the MPs, MPI, CID, where me and my colleagues we actually looked for the fuckers who were doing like serious terrorism shit, like a lot of the kids this generation are doing. They're going after some real shit that's happening. So there is real shit. And then there's propaganda shit. Okay. Like I was just reading the article today. I put it up on my I put it up on my notes about an article I was reading today about how all this Venezuela stuff, all propaganda and disinformation. All of it. We're going to go to a couple of cranks who have an interest, a personal interest in feeding the American government this information. And by the way, this is something I know a lot about. Bad confidential informants. If you've never actually thought about throwing a confidential informant out of a third story window, you've never had a bad confidential informant. No, I never did that. pretended I was once because he had so bad he pissed me off. But you got to be careful with informants because a lot of them do it for the money and do it for self-interest and not for the interests that we are pursuing. Okay. And that's exactly what is happening in Venezuela right now. Venezuela is Iraq Part 2. We're going to invade. If Marco Rubio goes to Congress and starts shaking a vial of biological weapons, I am not going to be surprised. Okay, because they're making up shit against Venezuela. That's what I'm saying. Don't you, if you're against the far right, if you're against Nazism, authoritarianism, totalitarianism, Trumpianism, okay, if you're against far right populism, you should also be against far left populism because it doesn't work either. But that aside, if you're against that on the far right, don't use their tactics because their tactics are going to get us in a lot of trouble again real soon, and namely in Venezuela. Okay, fentanyl is not coming from Venezuela. I'll repeat that. Venezuela is not coming from Venezuela. Small amounts of cocaine being launched off the coast of Venezuela, totally plausible. Totally plausible. Is Venezuela producing the cocaine? No, you need climate, altitude, and a specific amount of moisture and rain. If you don't have that, the coca does not grow. Okay. Remember a couple of live videos ago, I was telling you about the Army CID agents that came back because they were fighting with the Green Berets, DEA, the CIA in Colombia back in the 80s. In my time, I was in West Germany. They were in Colombia. They come back to West Germany and go, hey, guess what we just did? Here's a cool Kodachrome slideshow of it. Hey, I'm downtown. So if you hear train noise and sirens like this, sorry, I'm downtown on my mobile. 1 minute. Fire battalion chief in the truck. Second alarm. Plus an ambulance. Something just happened. Okay. So, like, I know, like, the real shit that goes down in South America. Okay. Like, I was in briefings that we got to see, through, we didn't have PowerPoint back then. So we had Kodachrome slideshows on the projector. But yeah, read the reports, saw the slideshows, know what happened, know what we did in Colombia, know where the cocaine is grown, specifically where it's grown. Okay, there may be scant little pieces of Venezuela here and there that could possibly grow some coca, but the mass production is not Venezuela. But we're going to pretend fentanyl and cocaine both come from only Venezuela because we need to, as Colin Powell did under W. Bush and Dick Cheney, we need to shake that vial. Shake that vial. It's like, don't we have enough problems in the fucking world? You got to make shit up? That's my whole point with starting with the left wing disinformation and propaganda. No, Marjorie Taylor Greene is not making $172,000 in 2026 after she retires. She gets a deferred pension at freaking retirement age, the retirement age she picks, just like we pick our Social Security or we pick our PERS, unless you're disabled like I am. I had to retire early. Okay. Okay. But you can retire at 50 at 3%. You can retire at 55. If you can stay physically fit as a fireman or a cop, you can, go all the way up to 60. I think the 62 is, unless you're the management, you can't stay in past 62. May have changed recently, but that's the way it was back in my day. But yeah, you pick your time. So please, 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 just don't click likes because, I love the idea that Marjorie Taylor Greene is continuing to rip off the system with her fake $172,000, pension starting in 2026. There's 24 other reasons not to like her that are legitimate, factual based, database reasons not to like her. You don't need to make up shit because you think it will get your, instead of their crank, your crank elected later. That's not the way we should be determining things, day to day in real life. That's an absurd point to be in as a society. Okay? It's not up to me. I don't live in Georgia. Georgia voted her freaking in. Okay. Now, the fact she's leaving a year early, this is a real problem with people who get elected to office, all the way down to the muni level. Like I told you guys, I ran for write-in for mayor in my town here. Just City Hall's just down the street. Over the militarization in the police tank and the diversion away from actual law enforcement. You can have a lot of different people run for a lot of different reasons. But if you live in New Hampshire, you can't get mad at who got elected in New Mexico. It doesn't mean you don't have to like them. Hell, I don't like a lot of people who got elected here where I live. Okay? It doesn't mean I have to praise the people who get elected in Georgia, like Marjorie Taylor Greene. Okay? But she was elected by the people of Georgia. Incongruently or not, she was. Did she serve her time? Then yes, she qualifies because she contributed into the system as part of her paycheck of being in Congress, and she gets to declare her pension. Because if you start attacking pensions for somebody who served in Congress just because you don't politically agree with them, then what limits the right wing? Let's say we don't get this clap back to Trumpianism in the midterms in the next presidential election, and we're stuck with something as bad or even worse than the properties of the current magatard fucking far right. Okay? What are you going to do when they start canceling everybody's federal pension? Why? Because you bitched about Marjorie Taylor Greene's pension. This means the air traffic controller just lost his pension. The person who worked for the Bureau of Indian Affairs, like my mother-in-law, she loses her pension. Okay? You can create panic from any angle. Hell, the Libertarian Party's been doing it for years. That's why, being a groovy Libertarian, I'm not a member of the Libertarian Party, because they do party things like create angst for no reason. Just be careful with what you're putting out there and what you're agreeing to through your actions on social media. Okay? And I wouldn't, and just like a older dad advice kind of thing, don't get too wrapped up in Marjorie Taylor Greene. I've never liked her. I'll call her out when she's something horrifically stupid and people on the right seem to agree with her. I'll call them out as dumb as fuck. Fine. But don't think she's the entire cycle. She was just a very hostile gadfly, like Charles Kirk, just a very hostile gadfly in the cycle. And the cycle is going to change. Okay? Like I keep telling my family and friends, start concentrating on when you see the cycle change, how you're going to contribute to the change, not the description of the problem. Be part of that we're going to hit a dip, just like we did post Watergate. When someone's got to flee so they don't go to frickin' jail, that's a dip in our social political outcome. So we're hitting another dip, just like post Watergate, post McCarthyism. Okay, because Trumpianism is kind of a combination of both, plus Tony Soprano running the whole gig. We need to be better, and I'm not calling anybody out. I'm speaking truth from my own person and online persona here. We need to be better at figuring out what the fuck are we going to do 5 minutes after Trump is gone than the last 5 minutes he's here. Because after he's gone, that's actually a bigger task. We're the ones who are going to have to mop the floor. We're the ones who are going to have to bleach the bathroom. We're the ones gonna have to pull the tchotchkes with the Krylon gold spray paint off the fucking walls of the White House. We're the ones that are gonna have to pay for the rebuilding of the East Wing. Because that's how short of a timeline Trumpianism has now. The fuse was lit. There's no bomb at the end of the fuse. It's just going to fizzle out. And that's one thing you should actually, and I gave credit to, at least in my head a couple of days ago, to Green. You helped disconnect the bomb from the fuse. Because his whole righteous stance was based on personas like Green's. She is turned on him almost 100%. For I think a lot of corrupt and a lot of personal relativity, personal survivability reasons. I don't think she's being completely honest. I think there's some things that she is being honest about. Like, I think when they actually spoke to the Epstein victims and they laid down what actually happened to them in uncensored language in that congressional meeting, I think the several people came to terms of how bad this cabal is of, the white Power Rangers on a menacing track with just criminal histories across the board. Because the Epstein thing is almost the distractor, even as how horrible it is and how I want the files released. I want everybody. I don't care who politically or socially burns at the stake. Do not care. Okay. I do not care who's on that list. I don't care who goes down in flames. I don't care who ends up in prison. None of that bothers me. Like the whole clap, stupid retort back at from the far right was, well, what are you going to do when Bill Clinton's in the Epstein files? I'm like, one, I suspected he's already in there. I don't have any information he's in the level of Trump is, even though I think Bill Clinton is a degenerate too. But I don't think he's in the same league as Trump, and I didn't have any evidence that he or Hillary did anything, even though I've never liked the Clintons. I didn't like Clinton when he was the president. Some of the policies were okay. I just didn't like him. Definitely didn't like Hillary. Okay. And by the way, I don't listen to Rush Limbaugh. I don't give a fuck what Rush Limbaugh ever had to say. Okay. The reason I don't like Hillary is more a Norm Macdonald line than a Rush Limbaugh line. But none of them told truth. Okay. And there's a compendium from Nixon and Reagan through the Clintons to now that was the road that was built. That was the arc of support for the bridge that bridged in Trumpianism into our zeitgeist, into our political system, into our internal consciousness as a society. Okay. But I've corrected a couple of things. Like, here's another thing I keep saying from definitely, I'm not being accusatory. I'm just saying the profile is it's more of a left leaner than a right leaner. I keep seeing this same meme over and over, and I've seen it now for 4 months. If you impeach the president, all the subordinate officers have to leave office. No, that is purely cockamamie nonsense. Okay, literally, please, whoever made Schoolhouse Rock or somebody who has a righteous mind and a democratic civics mind, someone who knows how important it is to support the Democratic Republic, please create a whole series 2 of Schoolhouse Rock and address it to the bullshit of today. Okay? If you impeach somebody, you impeach that person. If Trump gets impeached, which he was twice, the Senate didn't convict him. That's why he wasn't removed from office. But he is impeached. That does not mean everybody underneath him is impeached. That's silly. That's almost stupid silly. No, if you think, like, go back to Watergate. If you think Spiro Agnew did some shit, and Spiro Agnew did some shit. He did some bribery shit. He did some fraud shit. He did some coercion shit. He did like 25 shits. Okay? You impeach Spiro Agnew, which they didn't. That was unfortunate. They should have impeached him officially. But the DOJ entered in a civil agreement if Spiro Agnew would leave the vice president's office and not seek public office or corporate board leadership again, they would forego the charges. And I don't have the number in front of me, but it was like somewhere in the neighborhood of 24 charges, including the big B, bribery. Bribery is in the Constitution as a no-no. You can't be doing that bribery. Bribery is a big no-no. Even the founding fathers knew bribery was a big no-no. Spiro Agnew was having people show up at the naval observatory with briefcases of cash. Pay me. Yeah, Trump just uses a Bitcoin now, a meme coin. Oh, just realized I have a skyline behind me from the jet that just left the airport. Now seeing it go down the street. Wow, that left an airport well south of us because that's way up there. That's well above our local traffic level. And it's heading northeast. So maybe Vegas, maybe Reno, but it came out of like Los Angeles. So, okay. So, yeah, just be mindful, be accurate, use data that you're confident that is true. And if you make a mistake, just admit you made a mistake. Okay. I've admitted on this platform and other platforms that, hey, I actually thought this. Hell, I wrote a whole essay how I used to support the death penalty. Then I read all the data and read the legal cases and led the problems and understood the statistics. And I was like, holy shit, the death penalty is total crap. Plus, it's expensive as hell. It's cheaper just to hold them in prison for life without parole. I mean, much cheaper, 99% cheaper to keep them in life without parole. Okay. So it's this expensive ideology we've taken on. Okay. It's okay if you make a mistake on social media. Just make a comment of what you posted. Don't delete the post. I hate when people fuck up and they totally delete the post. I'm guilty of it too. I'm not saying I'm a saint. I'm trying not to do that anymore. I'm saying, hey, I thought this, I said this. Now I understand something differently. And if it needs an apology, I said I'll say the apology. Hey, I totally misunderstood this. Okay. But don't do the thing because Marjorie Taylor Greene is not a good person. She does not have good decorum. She does not have acumen. She does not have good ethics or morals. And her little apology tour on CNN, where I'm sorry for being the, worst evil bitch of, the magatard lifestyle. Okay. But your actions forward will determine whether or not that little confessional was true or not. I'm giving you the opportunity to fulfill that confessional, but I don't have to believe the confessional until action has been taken. That's my point. Okay. Don't use false information, especially stuff that would literally take one Google search or one name your AI engine, because at least they can look up news articles today for very reliably. Okay, so don't tell me you didn't have the opportunity to check out a meme that was posted on Blue Sky or Substack that said something that was holistically false, and then you like it, you retweet it, you repost it, whatever, and you didn't take even the 10 seconds it takes to run it through a search engine or an AI engine to show that, because one of the things they're teaching the AIs to do, if a bunch of people are asking the same question, it puts that into long-term memory. It goes, hey, we already know. Yeah, yeah. 1,600 of you have already asked this tonight. Yeah, it's totally bunk. Okay, even Gemini's doing it over at Google. I mean, stick to the real things. Stick to the real things. Like they're literally telling us a twofer in healthcare right now. One, we're going to put your premiums beyond your purchasing power. And when we tell you we're doing it, we're also going to add, fuck you. Okay. Then you double down and then you tell every female medical profession category, CNA, LNA, nurse practitioner, PhD, they're fucking doctors. They have doctorates. Okay. A nurse practitioner is a smart fucker. Okay. Yeah. And 90% of the nurse practitioners are women. Okay. Yes. When I got treated for my surgery, I had to do a whole pre-surgery interview with a pre-surgical nurse practitioner. Okay. And she laid into me, man. She gave me the whole medical interview. And she wasn't taking any of my shit. Okay. But you're talking about practice educated, knowledge domain experts, subject matter experts in their little silo of medicine. Okay. I don't know how many paramedics and medics in the Army or corpsmen in the Marines have told me, don't ever let a doctor try to intubate somebody. They'll kill them. That's a nurse or a medic's job. Like if they weren't a combat doc in a cash or a MASH hospital, they probably don't know how to do it correctly. And I've literally had 10 medic level people, corpsman level people tell me that over the years. Like, don't let a doctor do that. That would be horribly bad. So you go, hey, we're going to price you out of healthcare. We're going to close most rural hospitals through our big, beautiful bill of bullshit. And then we're going to demean every woman who got educated in the medical field by telling them they're not professionals. Why? Because most of the people in that field have a vagina. That's fucking stupid. That's fucking, I mean, yeah, I know, I hear it from my daughter. She's very liberal. Misogyny, Dad, that's the problem with America. It's misogyny. And I'm like, well, yeah, you're right, dear. In this case, oh, God, you're right. Oh, yes, there it is. This is absolutely it. This is exactly what you complain about. 100% agree on this one. Okay. You can't tell me that a fucking CNA or an RN or an LVN or an anesthesiology nurse or a dental tech. Man, my dental tech I had for a year before her dentist retired and she went to another city and like the commute to go see her was a pain in the ass. I mean, she was the closest DDS without a DDS license I've ever seen. She was like a super advanced dental tech with like literally dozens of certifications. She could do more work than I have ever seen a dental tech do legally. Okay. Without going to a basement dentist, and that is a skilled worker. Ms. D, yeah, I love you, gal. I love you. She took care of me, took care of my wife, my family. That is one skilled professional. Okay. Just because you're a dental tech, and most dental techs are women, doesn't mean it's not a profession. Okay. And telling them they're not professionals, that's disinformation. See my original bitch at the beginning of this? My original gripe? Don't use disinformation to meet your goals. Use facts and data and use some good acumen, decorum, ethics, and morals, which these idiots in power right now have no ability to do, especially if you're going to look at a nurse practitioner, PhD, someone who spent 2.5 years after their graduate degree to get a hyper-specific degree in nurse practitioning and systematic patient care. What? Stephen Miller thinks he's a fucking nurse practitioner? He thinks it's easy? No, it isn't. I'm sure being a physician's assistant is not easy. An RN is not easy. Okay? A lot of my friends are all these categories. Okay? I hold the medical professionals up with high respect, knowing that a lot of the medical professions have high quantities of female staffing. That's not a problem in my book. But it's obviously a problem for the magnetards. Why? Don't ask me. You're fucking idiots. I want the best person fucking doing my medicine. Okay? I just went through surgery. I told you all that. Okay? 2 surgeons said, not even close. I can't do it. The gal I went to see, she's the chief of this type of surgery. She says, I'll do it, and it will be successful. Rock on. I'm going to diminish her simply because she doesn't have male genitalia? You're fucking stupid. And what this is really about, understand what this is really about, because I have complained time and time and time and time and time, and I will continue to complain about the fact that student loans have turned into usury. We should have never used student loans in the first place. It all should have been Pell Grants. Grants, not usurious loans. Usury, the thing in the Bible, the Quran, or the Torah, they say all is bad. That thing. When they say they say a woman dominated medical profession isn't a profession, what they're actually saying is we're not going to fund your loans next cycle. Oh, you're an RN and you want to get a graduate degree and you want to go on to nurse practitioner? You're not a professional. We're not going to fund that loan. You're not useful to society. Why? Because you're a woman-dominated profession. I'm sitting here getting to have a Guinness, sitting enjoy a Sunday afternoon out because I survived surgery because the expertise of a renowned, highly qualified CV that goes light years female surgeon. She sewed me back up and put all my accident parts back together, and I get to sit here in fairly good damn health today. Still a little sore, but I'm fucking here, people. Okay? And that's all because of a great female surgeon. And you don't want to call her a professional, or you don't want to elevate other females in the medical profession because you don't think they're professional, because you're providing what? Propaganda and disinformation for the little fucking fucktarded little incels and the little man boys of MAGA. I literally don't think, you look at the clown show that's running these guys and the people I grew up with, including my father-in-law, the Command Sergeant Major, Airborne Ranger, Green Beret, 6 out of 10 Special Forces group. Okay. My special agents in charge when I was working undercover. Okay. My regional commanders. Elite people. And then you look at the clown show, and I'm supposed to believe Stephen Miller is the alpha bro. Trust fund babies in Congress are the alpha bro. Steve Bannon, Jabba the fucking Bannon. Oh, I'm the epitome of manhood. Just go fuck yourself. I should pull up the tweet. My brother-in-law tweeted me. I showed up his district, and he said, make sure you let all these people out on the internet that listen to you. And there's been a whole bunch of you subscribe to me lately. So again, thank you very much. Like, subscribe, the whole deal. And I appreciate it. I really do. Not trying to influence anybody, not trying to be an influencer, just trying to add some things to your lexicon that you can absorb in and make rational decisions. Okay. And my good man is in a district where ICE is invading, and he says, would you just let your people know they're being fucking terrorists? So, yeah. How are they getting away with this immigration enforcement? Propaganda and disinformation. Why are they doing this immigration raid? So you won't look at the Epstein files. What tactics are they using? State sponsored violence. And they're using, I'm convinced at this point, and I may be wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised if we actually identified a Proud Boy or a Boogaloo Boy or a domestic terrorist, like literally working for ISIS right now. So my brother-in-law calls him a terrorist. I'm going like, yeah, yeah. So they're just attacking people. What are they using as justification to attack people? Propaganda and disinformation. That's why you shouldn't accept it from any vector. And if you that little spark goes off in your head and you go, hey, that may not be true, follow up on it. It's just the life we're living. Like, did you guys see the bot turned on the location and the name change and all the account information on X, formerly Twitter? And they're all out of Bangladesh, Russia, North Africa, uh, especially Nigeria and Uganda, Chechnya, Iran, and they're all mega accounts on Twitter. Why is MAGA popular? Propaganda and disinformation. You go look at my notes where I linked the links, which shows you how everybody in the social media space took money from the Russians. That's why you have Russian disinformation supporting who? There you go. So please check into some things. Don't repeat stuff that's nonsense. It doesn't help. We need to go to the next cycle, or whatever the cycle of America and American politics and society and culture is. We need to do it based on facts. Okay. So keep being truthful. Admit when you made a mistake. Okay. I have. And be independent, vote independent, run for local office independent. And until next time, think about it.